But just something I just want to highlight again, especially when we talk about money, I think it's very important that I do, especially in the kind of work I'm doing, just in case someone listens to this one day. I am not a financial planner, so I'm not here to give you financial advice. And also, I'm not an expert. But what I'm here to do is when I started working in the financial industry, like I learned so much. And I said to God, I have to give this knowledge that I have in me to other people, to empower people. So about 2 years ago, during lockdown, I actually started on the journey of actually educating people. So for me, it was not only just Christians, everybody. To the point where even in my own home, in our home, we even teach kids about finances, starting giving the kids like at a very young age to learn to have their own bank accounts. Even though we might give them 20 Rand a month or even 50 Rand, teaching them how to use money. So for me, it was very important that first I learned to live it me and also in our own home. So the topics that I would like us to cover today would be honoring God with our finances, because for me that's important more than anything else. And then also just to highlight why do we need these kind of workshops, and talk about budgeting, just simple thing as budgeting. And then I'm also going to talk about saving and investments as well. So let's go to honoring God with our finances. First of all, we are children of God. And as children of God, we are unique and distinguishable in the way that you and I do things, right? If you were in a different financial talk, people will be talking about how to grow your money, how to do this, which is good. But for us as children of God, there's a way that we do things that reflects Jesus on earth. And one of those things is we honor God with everything that we have. My husband was talking about time. How do we use our time to honor him? So now even the money, because we need to remember, I'm able to make money. You're able to make money because God created you. It's in Genesis. The hands that we have, the feet that we have, even the voice that we have, if you're using your voice to generate money for you. I love Proverbs 3:9. If you can go to Proverbs 3:9 for me, it says, honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine. Honor the Lord with your wealth. I think sometimes when we think about wealth, we think, I have to be rich first in order to honor God. It starts very small. It starts with the 10 Rand that you start earning. It starts with the 20 Rand that you start earning. And then it becomes something that's embedded in you because you want to worship God with everything to have. And also you're saying, whatever I have, it's because of you. So I'm honoring you with that as well. And we also see this demonstrated in a lot of scriptures. This is not even the only scripture. If we read Malachi 3:10, it's a scripture that everyone knows. I think even if someone is not a Christian, they know that scripture in Malachi 3:10, right? Where it says, bring your tithe, your whole tithe into my house, right? And what I love about God, every time he tells us about testing him even in our finances, it's always attached with the promise. Even with Proverbs 3:9, it says, honor me and see what I will do. He says, then your barns will be filled with overflowing and your vats will brim over with new wine. So vats is like this thing that holds wine. It's like it's a big basket, because I was researching to understand what is this thing. It's this big bucket, or let's say a bathtub, where it will just fill up with wine. It always attaches with that. And in the Bible, even when you read Genesis 4:4, we read about Abel, right? Where he brought his 10th of his fattened calf to the Lord, right? If we can read it together, Genesis 4:4, so that it doesn't sound like I'm making up all these things in the Bible. It says, And Abel also brought an offering, fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering. It's always been something that's practiced in the Bible. It's not something that has been made up. So even when we hear preachers talking about it, it's not something that's been made up, but it's something that we're supposed to be walking in. And also if you read Genesis 14, 18 to 20, I'm just going to go to Genesis 14. I'm sure we all know this as well with Abraham. Genesis 14, it says, then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High, and he blessed Abraham, saying, Blessed Abraham by God Most High, creator heaven and earth, and praise be to God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand. Then Abraham gave him a tenth of everything. Then do we see how it was demonstrated in the Bible? And these people that we learn about in the Bible were blessed, therefore. I don't remember hearing or reading in the Bible how they lacked bread or how they lacked wine or they lacked fruits, or in any way. They were blessed abundantly. And one of the things that you need to remember about finances is you become a steward, right? We're talking about time management now. You become a manager. The reason why you become a manager is because God has entrusted you with that. So the Bible does the Bible attach stewardship, for example, with wealth? Does the Bible anywhere in the Bible say you only bring something to me when you earn a certain amount of money, or you only bring something to me when you have so many animals? There's no such thing in the Bible, right? So it doesn't matter where you find yourself in terms of that. So I just want to share a short testimony of when I became a Christian. When I became a Christian, I really struggled with tithing. I'll be honest with you. And I was like, 10%? Hi, Lord. It's just a lot for me. I can't. It was just something new, and it was preached. And then I was convicted one day in my heart that actually my heart is not in the right place. It's not even about that 10% or the money, right? But it's how I have put my trust in money, and I did not put my trust in God. And I was actually set free from that, and I praise God for that, because I was also reminded of, this is how we actually worship God, even with our finances, being generous, right? So I prayed for wisdom to understand how do I bless, how do I impart, my blessings to others with money? How do I apply wisdom with money? And also how to be very generous with money, not to only think about myself. So I guess some people, they're even wondering, why do we bring these kind of topics to church? Like, why are we here to talk about finances? Why are we not here to talk about how to pray in tongues, for example? Why are we not here to talk about how to serve God? The reality is, money is the currency of the world, right? And we need money to function. We need money to be able to stay where we're staying and all those other things. When I started working in a financial services provider, there are certain things I look back on as like, this topic actually was supposed to be covered at school. Because we start too late now when we start covering the topic in high school. I mean, in our workplaces, we just learn by reading stuff. I did accounting in high school. And I loved accounting. But I thought, no, man, accounting is about doing books for the rich people. It's about looking at the books of those companies. It has nothing to do with me. Little did I know. And also what I come to learn is the way we treat money is also based on the way that we were taught growing up. Me growing up in my house, talking about money was not a thing. We were not open. You sit around the table. You were like, your mom or dad, they will explain this is how things are done. Or they will explain to you, you need to save. There were no such conversation in my home. So how you relate to money later on, now you also see money as something that's taboo. I can't talk about money to this person. I can't talk about money to that person. And it's also what we see from adults. And the other thing, we tend to not be prudent as young adults. I love what my husband was saying about time is sometimes we don't look into the future. So being prudent means we're not looking into the future. We sometimes get stuck on, I'm living for today, not thinking that decisions that I make today will impact the future. So it's quite important to be prudent with even our finances. We look ahead. It's also in the Bible where it talks about prudence. If you read Proverbs 10:5, he who gathers crops in summer is a prudent son, but he who sleeps during harvest is a disgraceful son. It's there in the Bible. We are taught to be even prudent in the Bible in the way that we actually use our money. So we're not people who live to think, I just need to eat today. Right? We are people who think about, I have this 10 rand. How do I maximize? The same way we're listening to maximize time, but how do I maximize the things that I have here? If you don't mind going to Proverbs 21:5 for me as well, because there's another thing that we tend to forget, like the diligence in the way that we do everything. Like when we do things, we don't do things for the sake of doing them. I love that version. Good planning and hard work leads to prosperity, but hasty shortens lead to poverty. So what I also notice is as young people, we are very what do they call it? A microwave generation. Because we want to put something in the microwave, it's ready in 1 minute, 2 minutes. But even with accumulating wealth, it's something that takes planning, that takes time as well. Right? So every year, my husband and I, we sit down, we're like, okay, what are the goals for the year? What are our financial goals? What are the things that we would love to see in the house, right? Obviously, we pray, because prayer is the most fundamental thing in our lives. We'd get on our knees. These are the things that we need to plan for. But in prayer as well, there's that wisdom of we need to maximize what God has given to us, right? To plan for the future. Is an example. Me, so because my husband and I grew in different environments and stuff like that, so we reward each other differently. So when I get money, my husband is always reminding me, Babalwa, what are you doing for yourself? Because I always is my husband okay? Are the kids okay? They all need these things. Me, I want to go on holiday. That's how I reward myself. And my husband knows. We don't negotiate. Me, I go on holiday. I love going away for weekends, going to see places, because I have worked for it. But we just don't get up and say, honey, we're going on holiday. No, we plan for it. We look into the future. It's like, okay, is it possible for us to be able to do certain things? So it's very important to apply diligence and then for us to be prudent. There's something that we fail to do as young people, and that is called the budgeting. And again, this is something I also learned later, When I started giving an allowance to our oldest daughter, I taught her how to budget. I was only giving her 50 rand. I said, Madam, bring your Excel spreadsheet. Because these children must already know how to use a computer. I said, bring your Excel spreadsheet, your tithe, what are you saving for, how much you want to spend at school. Already she knew. So now you're already preparing them. When you go to university, if I give you 500 a month, that needs to be enough for you. But us, the mistake that we do, we get money, we spend. We get money, we spend. We never even sit down and let me check how much did I spend this month, how much did I do with the money, and all of that as well. So I will never forget my salary, my first salary, and I was so excited. You guys can laugh at it. It was 2,000 rand. And I was like, 2,000 rand, and I still stayed at home, and I knew I didn't have much responsibility, so I started to learn to budget there. And I don't know where that came from because my mother never used to budget, but I guess the way I saw my mother live with money, it also scared me. Like, for example, if I can share small, debt scares me. I don't borrow money from people. And it's a personal thing because for me, I see what it does, right? I would rather owe a bank than owe a person because a bank I won't run into the street. When they see me walking at the shop, the bank will say, hey, you owe me money. But Uluyanda is like, hey, she's eating at Nando's, but she owes me money, you know? So me, I'm very scared, and I saw what it did even to my family, the culture of borrowing money. But when I started working, I started doing a budget. But I used to just do a piece of paper, and I'll say, 2,000 rand. I wasn't a Christian at that time, so there was no tithe, right? My mother said, when you start working, at least buy something small for the house, right? Okay, I wrote, bag of potato was 50 rand at that time. You know, you buy a bag of potato, and then electricity, clothes, and then save, right? So now my sister would come to me and say, can we please have money for airtime? And I would show them my budget. But you should have told me last month. It's not here, I can't. And I didn't give them. I was so stingy, guys. So my sisters knew if they needed airtime, it used to be a month before. But then I also realized when I became a Christian, I had a very closed hand. I was very stingy. Like, you know, those people, this is my budget. It sticks to it. God had to work in my heart, you know, like to give. You will see now, I'll give you an example how our budget looks like. Now I even have a place that says love gift, you know, because I need to spread love and I need to spread it with money. You know, when God puts something in my heart, give someone money, I must give. That's it, because I need to honor the Lord. And then also what's important about budgeting is, the budgeting is you need to record, right, what you need to do for the month. Firstly, that's that money you get every month. So I am aware not everyone is working here. So I'm just giving you also an example for the future. Even if you're a student, you might be getting an allowance from back at home. It's important you know how to do that. And track your spending. You know these cards? You know swiping? You know snap scan? Hey! And then you scratch your head. But it says balance available, minus 200. It's like, minus! Because we were swiping, ne? And unplanned spending. And then also, we thank God for banking apps now. I don't even need to go to the ATM for a bank statement. It's important to check your bank statement because you need to track what kind of a spender are you. Are you a food spender? Are you an online spender? What are the things that are challenging you? One of the things my husband does not like is I don't carry cash. But what my husband doesn't know is the reason why I don't carry cash is for me. If I have cash, if I decide to walk in at the shop, I will use the cash. But with a bank card, for some reason, I'm very strict. I'm stricter, right? And it's important to carry cash, I know, because I never have money to pay for other stuff that I have to pay for. So it's important to always check for that. And also, do you know how much you're worth as a person? You know, I decided to read this book. It was like two years ago about personal finance, and it really empowered me. Because it says, you are busy walking around, but you don't even know how much you are worth. So I want you to start today to start calculating how much you're worth. For example, how much do we have in savings? How much do we have in expenses? And how much you have in debt? If you have more debt than savings, then your worth is the debt. I'm sorry. So, for example, let's say your debt is 100,000 and your savings is 50 rand. You are that debt. So when you're walking around, you are minus, right? And guys, and I'm not saying your worth in Christ, it's there. Don't get me wrong, but I'm talking about financial worth. You are minus. So it really shocked me the first time I sat down. You know, you're thinking you're doing okay. You have a car, you have this, you sit, it's like, Actually, you need you still to need to work some more. So I'm just going to give an example of what a budget looks like. So we are a two-income household, my husband and I. So for a very long time, my budget was just like, one-sided. So now, because we are husband and wife and we share everything, we are very honest to each other. This is how much the other person brings, and this is how much the other person brings. So we always make sure whatever money comes in for myself, I need to disclose to my husband. Whatever money comes in for him, he discloses. So we knew already right from the beginning, when it comes to money, we are transparent. We don't hide things. So now this is an example this is a household. The money that comes in there, you can see it's 10,000 rand, right? That's your salary. But sometimes you might be getting a bonus, right? Or sometimes you get money from somewhere, right? For example, let's say Uhadasa is running a business and she's selling apples. She does get a little bit of income from there. So I just add it as other, right? But if you look at this person got January, this person had 10,000 rand. That's the money that came in. This is how our budget looks like, right? This is not our money, but I'm just saying the way we structure it. God comes first to us, more than anything else. So that's why you'll see, after income, God. So we have tithe. We even do calculations so that we don't make a mistake, right? If your salary fluctuates, because sometimes you get more one month and then the other month you get less, we make sure we even have calculations on our Excel. You guys are clever. You know how to use Excel spreadsheet. You do formulas on Excel spreadsheet, you put there. And then offering, I know this is a tough one, right, to budget for. But if you can, you're like, you know what, this is what I'll have to offer for offering for a month. And then you divide it to the amount of times that you know you'll be in church. Now you know that's your total that you're giving. But look at also what we did here. Can you see there's budgeted and actual? Remember your budget you do before you even get your money. Right? So we get paid on different days, but our budget we do right at the beginning of the month because we already know these are the things that are coming, right? So you first handle your budget. And then savings. Savings are very, very, very important. Like, it's very important to save, even if you start small. Even if you start with 50 rand. And guys, please don't put money in your cupboards or socks. It's not saving. So please, there is a way of saving so that you're getting more money out of it, right? So for example, you save for emergencies. Let's say back at home they call you, something has happened or someone needs money. You want to be able to access that money very quick. You can save it maybe via the bank. I'll explain different ways to save, or a money market, and then you can go grab that from there. And then there's investing. Now investing is long term. In 5 years' time, I want a house. And I want to be able to have a deposit for a house, so I'm thinking long term. In 2 years' time, I met a sister in church. She's beautiful. This one I want to marry. I want to put money away. We know weddings are money. We know lobola as well. So now you're thinking ahead already. That's that. Now, you're still doing budgeted. I'm just going to go to the next one. And then expenses, right? Now, with expenses, you have your food. You might have electricity. You might have transport. You might have entertainment. When I say entertainment, you know those things. Oh, Bunny, let's meet for coffee. Right? They need money. You need to budget for it. Let's do Sea Point. We'll do ice cream. You need to budget for it. Right? And you tell yourself, this is all I have for entertainment for the month. Right? You might have clothes that you need to buy for that month. Put it there. The love gift, the one I've messaged, like I want to maybe bless someone, God put someone in my heart, and then also unplanned spending. You will see you can't budget for unplanned spending. You'll see that's why I put a dash. But you might have actual for unplanned. So unplanned for me came when I did this whole thing of swiping. Yeah, like a payday. Which one? Airtime. Oh, yes, those who buy airtime and data and all those other things. And I just want to say, guys, this budget is just an example, right? You might have more than this. If you've got kids, you might have school fees, you might have universities and all those. So all those things you put in there. And then unplanned spending would be you swipe, and then you check later on, oh, I've spent this much. That would go to your actual. Now what you need to do, you look at, this is my total income. This is how much I've spent. In this example, it was 4,274 after doing everything else, and then how much you have left. Okay, this person has got a very healthy bank account because after they've done everything, they're left with 5,726. But that's when you look at that amount, you're like, oh, maybe I need to save more. Maybe I don't need this much left because this person doesn't have rent, they don't have a house, they don't have all those, but it's very important. But what I wanted to highlight with the actual, food is a very dangerous territory when it comes to budgeted, because I see it even in our home. We put a certain amount of money, this is budget. So we have things that we buy for the month, and then we have things that we buy for the week. And you find that prices change sometimes, and then you find that, oh, actually, you spent more on food. But if you find for 3 months, you've budgeted 1,000, but you've spent about 1,000, or 1,300. Now what you need to do is increase your budget for food, because you know whatever you've put in, it's not really going. Same with transport, because when it goes up, you have to budget more. Now fuel has gone up, so for fuel we have to budget more. It's not less and so on. But what this does, it gives you visibility to see exactly what you're doing with your money. I'll be honest with you, sometimes it's scary to do it, because I remember being so scared, because that means I had to face myself. I have to face what kind of things do I do when I spend. I have to face what kind of a person I am with money. But it's very important to do it. What I also want to highlight, this way I'm showing you of budgeting, it's not the only way of budgeting, right? There are a lot of apps that are out there. I know young people love apps that you can use to help you with budgeting. They attach it even with your bank account. They do automatically, because they already know the certain things that you are doing in there as well, right? And then the other thing I wanted to highlight, sometimes you get money that was not planned for you to get, like a bonus. So what we tend to do when we see a bonus, we already have plans for it. Sometimes just take it and put it away, to save it, to think, like, what is it that I really want to do with this extra money that I got? It might have been a gift or money that you've won as well, right? So it's very important every month. And then after a year, then you look at that thing, you're like, oh, okay. How did I do? Like, you're tracking yourself now. How did I do January, Feb, March, April, and so on? And please don't be too hard on yourself if you go off a little bit on your budget, but just bring yourself back. Okay, I need to do better here. Because for me, that's where I learned, oh, my struggle is this, my struggle is that, and we adjust there. So that would be your budgeting. So one of the things I've come to learn about us in Africa, we are firm believers of land, and that's not a bad thing. I remember this one time I met this, I was going to Zimbabwe, and this guy was flying into Kenya, and asking him, how's business doing? Because it's also from the same company I work for. It's like, it's harder in Kenya, because people, they don't like saving money. They don't like doing investments, because they want to see their money. It's an African thing. You want to feel and touch money. It's an African thing. Or you want to see land. Like you want to point, I've got so much land and all those other. To the point now, sometimes we get limited to thinking there's only one way of saving or making money, which is not very true. So I want to talk about savings, right, and investment. It's actually different things. Saving is you're doing it for short term. For example, if I'm saving for 3 months, or I'm saving for an emergency because I want to be able to, or saving for 3 months to buy myself shoes. Saving for 6 months because I want to buy myself this, or whatever it may be, right? I want an air fryer, so I need to save for that. That is short-term saving. And then when we talk about investment, this is the one that we mostly, as people, we don't like, is long-term investing. And this is the one that works in our favor. Guys, I see a lot of white people making money, and it makes me sad because the way they make money, we think they're making it because only of businesses. They make money because they put money away. There's something called passive income. You take your money, you put it away, and it makes money for you. That's called passive income. But it requires us to be patient. That's called long-term investment, meaning you save for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or even 20 years. So it's very important for us to not be scared. You know, sometimes when we read Proverbs 31, us ladies, we get very intimidated by that woman. We're like, they want us to be that lady who seems to have it all together. But when I read that, she actually inspires me because it says in Proverbs 31:18, she sees that her trading is profitable. You know, she doesn't just sit around. She's not only sewing clothes or mending clothes, because I know some Christian women get offended because they think they're supposed to be just in the kitchen. But if you read, there was prudence about that woman. And I love verse 19. It says, she considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She's just not just sitting. And I was just thinking sometimes as a single, when ladies are single, they tend to be like, me, I'm going to start building with my husband. My sister, actually, you can start now. When he finds you, you have already got a little bit of something. Do you get what I mean? Even if it's a little nest, it's a little whatever. So one day, surprise your husband. He wants to be like, we have to buy a house. He's like, honey, here's something so small for a deposit that I put away. Do you get what I mean? Because already you were preparing yourself where it is possible. So there's so many ways to invest, right? And this is one of the topics I'm really passionate about, but I won't really go into details, but I want you to also do research about it. When you invest, one, you can go through a financial planner. You know, when you're sick, it's easy for us to go to the doctor, right? Because we know we're sick. But when we don't have knowledge about finances, or our finances are a mess, we are reluctant to go pay for someone to help us, you know, like a financial planner. There are professionals out there who are there to help you, to tell you how to invest, to tell you how to, you know. Even with this knowledge that I have, I still have someone that I go to. I was like, look, this is what's happening. Is it possible for us to do this? Then they'll advise you what it is, right? But you will get to the point in your life where you become matured, then you are able to do certain things. But there's so much research also that is out there. So these ways of investment I'm showing you here is not the only ways. There's a lot as well. So a unit trust, for example, a unit trust is when you go to buy into like a pool of funds, right? But you pick funds, for an example, this one, if it's a money market, for example, then you know, I'm just investing only for a short period of time. But now, if I want to pick a fund, for example, I want for 5 years, you're like, then I want to buy something like some sort of like a shares or something like that I know I'm exposing my money to equities, as an example. That's unit trust. So with unit trust, you can do short term. You can also do long term. That's what I like about that. And then tax-free investment. This came into when in South Africa. Okay, I can't even remember, but it's one of the popular ones because there you don't get taxed. But like there's a limit, like a 500,000 limit for a lifetime that you can save, and 33, no, it's increased now, 36,000 rand that you can save for the whole year. So you can start like putting away for example, 500 a month. You just put it on your tax-free investment. You just watch it grow. Don't panic what's happening in Russia. Don't panic what's happening with Ukraine, because with investments, right? They become volatile, You just watch and see your money grow. You don't go check every day, has it grown now or whatever. You give it time. Retirement annuity. This one is very important. Do you see how, I don't know, you've noticed here in South Africa, how the older people become dependent on the state when they reach a certain age to pay the money every month, right? They call that pensioning, right? So some of them, Shema, I understand, because they didn't work, so there's no money, so the state has to take care of them. But now imagine you've worked, and you've worked hard. It's not like you just work, you've worked hard. Now you reach the age of 60 or 65, and you have nothing to show for it. That's not good. So retirement annuity, it's money you're putting away for when you stop working one day and then you retire. So some people, this money is deducted already at work, right? But you can add a little bit more. What helps you with that, right? Once you're done working, you can actually go buy something we call a living annuity. The living annuity now will generate income for you every month. And imagine it's money that you have worked for, money that you have, and all of that as well. So there's that. So I also want to talk about the power of compound interest. I don't know here who's done maths or who's done accounting and you've heard about compound interest. That's the way to go. It is the truth. Here I'm showing you an example of two people. Sorry for the dollars. I could have gone and found a South African example. It's Jack and Blake. Jack started saving, let's say, at the age of 20 or 21 years old. And you look at the graph, right? By the time he was 67 years old, he was sitting at $2.5 million, right? But if you look at Blake, who started later, also same age, look how much he had, only sitting at 1.4. So the younger you start, the greater it is actually for you to get to the point where you are really making money. And the thing I want to highlight, because I noticed this mostly in black people, we are very fleshy people. When I say fleshy, we want to drive the nicest cars when we start working. We want to have a BM, or you want a car that's going to have a wheel at the back. Yep. But back at the ranch, you have no savings. The people I work with, I just admire them sometimes so much because they're more on the lighter side of the skin. I would like, you're my boss, this shirt, man, every time, sometimes she's been wearing it, But the holidays that they go to with their family, the things that, things that really matter, things that add value to the lives of their children. When it's time for their kids to go to university, they're not starting to wake up and be like, oh, now we need to, what are we going to do for university? What are we going to do? They try to minimize. And their houses are still nice, right? They still have beautiful houses, but there are things that they know, you know what? This is important, this is not. It's make things priority. And please don't hear me wrong. There's nothing wrong with having a nice, beautiful car. Me, I wanted to, but I can't have that at the expense of I have nothing else in my bank account, but I'm driving a really nice car. Or my car is nicer than my house. Because remember, a house is actually an investment. Right? You need to remember, that's another way of investing. Buying a house, because the value of the house goes up, up, up. The car, when you drive it out at the dealer, it loses value. And then it goes down, down, down. Whereas a house that you bought for 100,000, when you sell it in 5 years' time, you can sell it for 500,000. Now you've made a profit of 400,000. Okay, so there's so much, guys, we can talk about in this topic, but unfortunately we can't cover everything in one session. But I just want to also say I am here to help when people want to help. They have questions. I am here to answer those questions to the best of my knowledge. Yeah. Any questions?
So I have a question, right, regarding savings. So what the very first time you started saving, like how did you discipline yourself? Because for me, that's the challenge. Like I first save and save and save, and then something comes up, and then I'm like, I have money. I'm going to take from savings. You know, anything, even if it's not important, but I always use the savings. So how do you discipline yourself in terms of like saying that, okay, this is untouchable. You can't touch your savings unless it's emergency.
Yeah. So remember I talked about the ways of saving. Remember I said don't put your money in your socks. Don't put it in your mattress. Make sure your money is not easily accessible. The only money that should be easily accessible is the emergency one. Even the emergency one, what I would do, I would put it in a money market so that when I go draw it, I don't get it immediately. I get it the next day because it gives you time to think about it. Even at the bank, what do they call it? The 32-day account where you save it, you put it there. If you want it, you only get it in 32 days. But should you want it earlier, they penalize you. Now you're going to ask yourself a question, is it worth being penalized 500 rand for me to draw that money? Because now you're losing from your savings. And also that thing I said, please don't be hard on yourself. I made mistakes, like a lot of mistakes as well with savings where you will just go grab money and whatever. But also, remember you have a goal, right? So you save with the goal. I think when you save with the goal, you tend to not go against the goal. But the moment you just put in, you don't know why you're putting away, that's when things become a bit tricky because you don't know why you're putting away. So the other thing I wanted to highlight in your budget, give yourself that extra pocket money so that you don't go and touch your savings. Give yourself the pocket money when you want ice cream that you are able to. If you know you're a person that goes out with friends, give yourself that little bit extra so that you don't touch your savings.
For me tonight, I learn a lot because most of the time when I get money, I never make my budget. When the money just twang. No, yeah, it's the truth. Seriously, it's been like a long time, like I seated, like I know, okay, this month, if I get my salary, I will do this, I will do that. I never do that. I want to say very big thank you to you guys to make me to learn more tonight again. So that is all. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Papa. Thank you.
So I want to answer one question. So it is so important that you must give God your first salary.
I can't hear you properly.
So I want to know if it's so important you must give God your first salary.
Your first salary? You mean your whole salary? Okay, so I will answer it this way and I'll ask my husband to also answer, right? First of all, there are certain principles that we apply that are from the Bible, right? That are written in there. That's the 10th. That's related to the tithe, the 10%. But my brother, if God puts in your heart this salary, right? Honor me with it. Because he's your father. Do it. Right? Don't hold back. There's a reason that he says that to you. Totally. There were times I was also challenged where I had to give more than I have planned because it also tests and then you do that. But I must say, I don't know about like, it's written to say give everything. I don't want to lie and make up something that's not in the Bible.
So as my wife said, so it depends on how you feel from your heart, and because when God told you about something, He's able to cover back all those things. But if you give maybe because you're feeling it. And, sorry, maybe it was your thought, and then you give it to maybe how are you going to survive, how are you going to go to work for the next day. But I had a listener, sometimes, sometimes we tend, as a Christian, we not to know how to, what one of the struggle we don't know how to balance. That is another struggle with us as a Christian. We need to balance, and we have to keep the principle. The principle always work. Like the principle of tithe, I am the witness since I started working, since I become a Christian, since as I give my tithe, I never got fired. If the contract finished today, tomorrow God may give me another work. That is the principle that since I start working, or I move to another job, and then I never lack of anything because I just being faithful in tithe. But if you feel like a God putting in your heart to give him everything, give it to him, but he's gonna give back. But it's not a principle in the Bible. Like you have to give your first tithe to your first salary, to God. Yeah. I don't know who else has a question. Question about the finance, question about the time.
Yeah, I just want to add, sorry, just got something in my heart what the brother was asking as well. You know, sometimes there are certain things that we also promise to God. Let's think about Hannah, right? When Hannah was not pregnant and she was asking God for a child, and eventually when she prayed, she said to God, if you do this, I will give this child to you, right? And she did exactly that. So you could also be in that same position. You're like, God, you know, if I get a job, this is what I want to do. And then you want to honor that promise or what you have said to God. Yeah.
Yes, question.
Yes, I have a question about tithe.
Yes.
Tithe workers or for even students to whom parents send money, or only for people who do work?
I love the Bible. Like, you know, the way I love the Bible, it does not say, student, bring your whole time. It doesn't say this, but I do understand why you're asking that question, right? So the money that you get, the income that you get, right? Even if it's income that you might be getting from your parents, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, right? You still want to honor God with it. But I just think sometimes the mistake that we Christians make, we like to sometimes analyze things to try to get away from certain things. Because now I believe, right, if we can do it, if with the small we have, like even in the Bible tells that if God can trust it with something small, then he can give us something big, then that's it. Because even with the kids, they get money from us, but you teach that 10%. If you even look at the Jewish community, they don't miss it. Even the children, they get allowance from parents, 10% they don't play. They have to give the tithe. So I don't know if there's anything you also want to add in there.
So in that, if you start to learn when even you're not working, the small amount of money you get and you give your tithe, you give your offering, it's going to help you to be disciplined when you're going to get more. Because if you wait to when you start working, the first time you're going to get your salary, for example, first salary is 100,000, and then you look at, can I give 10,000? Sometimes you calculate, you say, hey, that's a lot, eh? 10,000 rand. But you forgot it's the God who give it to you. But if you learn how to give when it's smaller, then it's going to help you to give when you got a lot. So you're going to not mind. And then I want just to add, especially for the Jew culture, they teach their kids when they are very small, even offering at the church. Even where I work, every Jew came there most of them, they know how to give tips, even R1. Even the kids, if a mother send him to pay, he gonna ask you, where can I put the tips? Because they know the secret of receiving it to give. But the one thing that us, we don't know it to give. They never taught us how to give. You see them when they come, they want to pay, they're looking for tips to put it. A small boy coming and, I want to pay coffee for my parent, but where can I put the tips? So they learn it already, even from their own money. So smaller you learn, and then the more it help you. Okay, thank you so much for everyone for coming today. We wish we could have more time to spend and to think. I hope everyone is blessed.